Okay, I hope my screen is visible to everyone now. Yes, now today we have quantitative variables. Yesterday we did description for categorical variables. And today we will try to describe this quantitative variables, which has two characters, discrete and continuous. So yesterday I told you about this, how to add percentages in the pie chart. I send it the screenshot in the I send it the screenshot in the Skype, that how you can add percentages to the pie chart in the command for segmented graph. Now next we have a quantitative variables. Is everyone is present still, or the 7 participants are here? Okay, today's session is important actually. These basic tools we use 60% in the descriptive statistics, quantitative variables. Especially in the economics, most of the variables are quantitative. It's important how we distinguish them and how we apply data software for these particular quantitative variables. So, okay, let me start now. The first, I have put here one question, that why this 14-day quarantine for Corona? Is how this number came. 14, why not 13, why not 15, or 16, 17, or 21? So why 14-day only? Will anyone try to answer? This is very common, right? We have this fear that if we travel from one place to another, we don't want to be in a quarantine for a 14 days. But how this 14-day number came? This particular 14 figure. And the second I have put here, this particular statement from this Sapiens book by this Yuval Harari. It's a very, really wonderful book. This one of the statement he used this average word, that during the last million years, there has been an ice age on average every 1 lakh years. The last one ran from about 75,000 to 15,000 years ago. So he used here a word particular average, that in a last 10 million years, it happened every, or an average after every 1 lakh years. So see how we can use average to describe historical events. Possibly last pandemics also went for 14 days quarantine. But I think last pandemic was, if big pandemic, I can say the 100 years, then it was in 1917 or 15 something. And we really have idea about that. But yes, at that time also, approximately, I think nearby 3 crore people have died at that time. Chechak and all that also in the India. And at that time also, from address I have heard that the government did this exercise, that they separated the individual from one house to another houses in 19, 15, 16, 17, 18, at that time period. But we lack that particular literature. I don't have so much information about that pandemic, but this particular number is actually this when it started in the China. So the doctors took this the findings is WHO, that these symptoms will appear within a 14 days. Means these doctors, when initially they were struggling with this particular, that how we identify. The major problem is that how we find one is with the symptoms of corona or not. So, and that after so many studies and so many experiments, the initial stage in the China, this I think January and February. Then they came with this number that on an average, there was a dispersion, but on an average, in 14 years, these symptoms will appear if one has a corona. It's not true for everyone, but on an average. So another example I have used in this particular slide. This is from the one of the article from the Bloomberg. The ratio of white to black family net worth falls from 10 times to 7.8. And in the note it is written, median net worth for all families rose 18% from $103 to $121. This median they have used means in the particular yesterday with this bar graph, right? The bar graph I told you, this is your homework for the quantitative variables, and from the internet I have showed you the how you can do for quantitative variables. For quantitative, in place of percentages, you have to select either mean and median, means that parameter you have to fix. In this particular graph, this if you see black and this blue, the increase in the blue from the black is approximately 18%. And this increase is in the median net worth. So means they took a parameter as a median, not average or the mode or any other parameter. So why they have selected this median parameter? And if you read articles in Bloomberg Financial Times, many times you will find that reporters report the average change in the wages with the median figures, and they avoid the arithmetic mean average. So that's what we also have to identify, that how we find that which one is appropriate on a particular research question. These things are important. Means if you might think that if this particular article use average in place of median, then how much these results will change? They will change, because in median we can say that this is a central value, but actual central value which divide the city is two parts, but not for the average. Yes, influenced by the outliers, and that's a major problem. So let's start. Today I think we only have 9 participants, others are on holiday. This is what happens actually when we start to share the videos, or in the basic parts participants think it's too basic. And this is the but actually problem. When I was teaching in the college, hardly anyone put focus on these particular topics. They thought, oh, this is easy, we already done. What's is important or new thing one can describe in these things. But I'll try to give you some meaningful information even out of these basic tools. Okay, so first the central tendency. Now my first question is why central tendency, means why we call it central tendency. And central tendency, or there is a location term we use, location, central tendency. So or in general terms we also say average, but this average doesn't only mean the mean average, it might be a median or mode. So why central tendency, means why we look upon the central tendency only? I know these are very basic questions, but maybe one of you might be doing it first time or have some problems with basic. It will help them to interpret the results. So can anyone, why central tendency? Why so much effort we put on central tendency when we have a this quantitative data? Quantitative data means either the interval scale or the ratio scale that we did yesterday. These are the types of averages, that there are mathematical averages that we can calculate, or there are positional averages. And there is a difference between these mathematical and positional averages. But my question is, why central tendency? Why not we have some another method to describe the quantitative data? Or is it the way only that we can only look upon the central tendency, we don't have any other choice here? Okay, Divya and Soumya are trying to answer. For the time being, in the right side, I have written only in case of manual calculations, formula for discrete and continuous will vary. For software, we need not to worry about it. They are by default programmed accordingly. Means when we work with the software, you are not required to bother about whether your data is grouped data when you have a class intervals or your data is a discrete data. When we do manually in the textbook examples, we solve grouped math differently because then we have to take a mid value as a x for that particular groups, and then we do the calculation accordingly. That's called a double mid value, means have central value of the central in the beginning. But that thing here it won't matter because software is accordingly they have programmed. So we are not worried about that whether it's a group data or ungrouped data. Okay, now the answer possibly that last no. Maybe to know about our data is representative or not, it tells us about the average, which is important. Most of the data around 50% is lying. That is why central value. Yeah, this is too representative. This is the simple answer that actually we have a n number of observations in our data. So we need a one particular figure which can describe the data. So for and that number needs to be a representative. I'll show you there are few desirable properties in this quantitative data that we have to take care of. But yes, that's true that we need a one particular number out of all the n numbers of our data that is a representative, and that's the reason we use the central value that will represent all the data. But while calculating the central, we have these options: mathematical average and positional average. Mode and median, we have this positional average. Okay, generally we all are aware about this arithmetic mean. Intentionally have put here geometric and harmonic mean because well, I was teaching in the college, I realized that students always ask this question generally. That is it in the syllabus, especially for, and again for the skewness and curtsies. I don't know why they don't like these 3 or 4 terms in their syllabus, but they are also important. Like Human Development Index that use geometric mean, not the arithmetic mean, and there is a logic behind that. So let me first start with average, mathematical average. In mathematical, we have arithmetic, geometric, and harmonic. Arithmetic is simple, summation of all the values divided by n. But in geometric, we have to take a square root, or the another way I have given here example of the rate of interest example. And harmonic is the actually average of the ratios. So if I show you one, there was a one really good. Okay, before the article, I'll show you this example of geometric mean. This is the textbook I am using, which I have already sent you this particular Skype. Yeah, here we have this particular example, geometric mean. Suppose we have this rate of interest for 3 years, and this rate of interest is different. Then is it arithmetic mean is more appropriate or geometric mean? That example is given in the textbook itself. So example is, suppose we have a 3 different rate of interest, 10%, 20%, and 60%. So if we calculate simple arithmetic mean, then it is average rate of growth of your investment is 30, but that is not actually the figure. Why? If you see this particular table, so first year 10%, so 10% of 1000 is 100, so now we have 1100. Second year 20% of, already we have this 1100, so 220, 20% of that 110, so it's a 1320, and then 60%. So our actual value is after 3 years 2112 rupees. So if as we calculated the average growth rate, that's 30% by arithmetic mean, if we calculate this by 30%, 30% every year, means we divide this with the central value that which I have 30%, then the actual number is 2197 with this 30% average, which is incorrect because the actual number is 2112. So if we use simple arithmetic mean to calculate these kind of calculations, we will not get accurate figures, because arithmetic mean what it will do, it will give equal weightages, means the weightages according to that particular, sorry, not equal weightages, but according to the size of that particular value. But that create a problem. So if we use the geometric mean here, with geometric mean you will get this particular R is equal to 28.3%. And now if we apply this 28.3%, then the number will match with the actual number, 2112. So this is why the geometric mean is important when you have these kind of data sets. And another example, if I'll show you, this is really a good article. So I want to show to all of you. This will describe the actual difference between geometric, harmonic, and mean. You can read this article whenever you have time. And the title is, yeah, on average, you are using the wrong average. Geometric, harmonic means in data analysis. So here again, I'll show you one example. For example, our data is like this, that it is increasing with the equal interval. And if we apply the arithmetic mean, then it's okay that we have a one central value. It's actually the central value. But suppose your data is not of the equal intervals, it is like something like this, unequal, like when it might be skewed or Curtis's data. Page 93, which page 93? Is it page 93? No, not on page 93. I'm giving another example of geometric mean, that why we use geometric mean. Like you have a data this. If it is like of equal class into like normal, then it's okay with the arithmetic mean. But if it's like this one, unequal intervals, then if we use arithmetic mean, then this particular red dot is your arithmetic average, but most of the observations are in this particular range. So this is inappropriate. But if we, like here it is shown that actually this is due to outliers, this data is showing average here. It is skewed data, but if our arithmetic mean is lying here, it's not appropriate. And if you use geometric mean, then it will give you the accurate picture of the central value. So this is another example that why we use geometric mean in place of arithmetic mean. So if you go through this article, it will show you this another example of, yeah, this rate of interest. The example I was trying to show you, that if it's an unequal change in the returns, then it's better we have to use geometric mean in place of arithmetic mean. I hope now at this point is clear that, and this is now you can get an idea that why in the Human Development Index they have used geometric mean but not the arithmetic mean, because there was the issue of the weightages, and that weightages are different in the Human Development Index. So they have used this geometric mean. Then the one is the harmonic. There are very few examples, but if in layman term, I would say if you have something in the ratios and you want to find the average of those particular type of data, then it's better you can use harmonic average. I'll show you the difference with this data, that how these numbers will vary. But mostly in case of ratios, it's better you can use harmonic mean. Yes, Umar, for what Human Development Index, or you are in general you are asking about this geometric mean? In general, yeah. Actually, this is if the difference is because of unequal weights, like this 10%, then 20, then 60, it's not an equal increase in the rate of returns. So it's better to use a geometric. Similar, that the same thing is in the diagram also, that if it is an increase with the equal type of differences, like in this particular diagram, then it's okay with the arithmetic. But if that's not increasing with the equal values or equal size, like this one particular, like the exponential averages, we have exponential increase, like this one, this corona case, right? Every graph you will see in the newspaper, they show the exponential increase. Everyone was worried about the third stage in the month of May and April. So in these kind of data sets, it's better to use the geometric mean. I hope now it's clear that when we have to use geometric mean, and if many times you will also find this, that geometric means are equal to median. It's not always, but many a times. And in case of ratios, actually harmonic mean is that n divided by the, this x is now that something is in the ratios, that if you have ratios, then it's better to use harmonic mean. Okay, this is done. Then next, positional median and mode. Median is simple, that divide the series into equal parts. So this is now Havian. Why we call it a positional average? You can see in the formula that n is actually the number of that particular frequency. Sorry, number of observations. If we add with the 1 divided by 2, if we have an odd case, means if we have an odd series, then whatever number will come in, whatever proportionally whatever number is in the frequency or the data, that is your median value. So here it's a positional average, and mode is that occurs frequently, value that occurs most frequently. So before moving further, these are the few. Yesterday I also told you that your data needs meaningful, unbiased, representative, meaningful, clear-cut representation, because there we were using bar graph, pie chart, frequency distribution. So that need to be a clear and representative. Now these are the Lavanya wants harmonic mean examples. Like Lavanya, in commerce we use ratios, this financial ratios, working ratio, capital ratios. Like suppose you have a data of ratios for 10 different firms, and like of the capital ratio or any other asset to liability ratio, I'm just speaking hypothetical. Then if you need an average of that particular ratios for 10 different firms, then it's better you will use harmonic, because ratios are something that you already divided one particular number with another number, so it might be in fractions, right? So it's not good that you can use this. What this harmonic mean actually do, it will kill this weightage problem. Now weightage does not have any problem, because if the numerator divided by denominator, that sort out that particular problem. So now it's better to use the harmonic mean. But if you don't have these ratios, then don't use harmonic mean. Although they just differ slightly, geometric mean, harmonic mean, arithmetic mean, but it matters when there are huge differences due to skewed data. Yeah, in financial ratios or any data where you have a ratios, like in this annual survey of industries data, there are so many ratios we will do in industrial calculation, like concentration ratios we do in the market structure analysis, market concentration that we study in the industrial economics or microeconomics. There we calculate these ratios. So if you want average of concentration ratio of 10 firms of a particular formula, then it's better we can use this harmonic mean. Okay, so these are the desirable properties which is required. Descriptive statistics should be single valued, because now we have a n number of values, so we need a single value, and it's better we will find some value which is central, so we use central tendency or the location. Second, should be algebraically tractable. It means we can do some transformation with that particular number if we want. This descriptive statistic should consider every observed value Yeah, true. Sometimes we have outliers, but we have to deal with that, and we have to see that, okay, outliers are also part of that data. So try to consider all the observed values. And the for descriptive study should consider the frequency of every observed value. So these are the few desirable properties for descriptive statistics. Now if center location is done, these three numbers are for the location. We will do few examples like first we do mode. Okay, an example when we use median or mode. Household activity example or any other example which you use everyday life. First we start with the median. If I'll show you the median, this median is actually this mid value, right? Second quartile range, which divides data in a equal. Wages that depend upon the distribution. You will see in the distribution or skewness and curtsies that whether for wages we need average or median. But I'm just asking in general, where the purpose is that we have to divide in two equal parts, that we need actually that particular positional number that will divide the data in two equal parts. Like in my classroom examples, our teacher gives this example of the road divider, which divide the road in two equal parts where no discrepancy is there. Like in the courts, when you have a dispute cases of land disputes, you want to be divide property in two equal parts. So I'm just saying, is there any these kind of requirements when we actually need one particular number is divided into equal parts? If you have this thing in particular in the research question or in a mind that you need a particular number which divide equal series in a two equal parts, then we have to use the median. And the third one is the mode. Most frequently in commerce we use this particular most frequent numbers. Like yesterday I gave this example in the, let's suppose you are a producer of textile industry, so you have to decide. Okay, take this example. You have this particular factory or firm which produces shoes for children. So which particular size you'll produce more? How you will decide? Is it you will decide with median or average, arithmetic average, or mode? Or if you have a shop, you have n number of items in your shop. So how would you decide that how much stock you will contain? Or median, average, or mode? Yeah, mode. Because these kind of, when you have to take a decisions based upon this particular, that how much stock we keep in logistic departments, then it depends upon that how frequently we are selling that particular item and how frequently we need that particular item. So if you go in this for shopping, they have all different sizes, right, for this clothes, but there are few sizes for which they keep stocks comparatively more as compared to other sizes, and that depends upon their experience with the sales. So in those cases we have to use the mode because that's the most frequent. Then in this particular case, for example, I started with this corona question, right? 14 day. Let's suppose we do this experiment with 1000 corona patients and we try to see that after how many days the symptoms are appearing. So we calculate the days 7, 8, 9, and we have this data of all the 1000 patients. So one way is that we can calculate the average. That will also give us the number. But if there are too much outliers, like a few patients are getting symptoms after 20 days and others are getting around this 11, 12. So this is the problem with the average, that it give a higher weightage to the higher number. So average comes around 14. But will it be useful to take decision on that particular average, which have outliers? That might be risky, right? And this corona is, now we have experienced that it's a too risky thing. We can't take risk. So in that case, we can't use this average, nor we can use median. Because that say, okay, 50% is there, 50%, but it won't say that how much is the skewness in the data. So there are few chances where you have to use mod in place of averages, although average is more suitable or median is more useful, but because of the unequal distributions, you have to use the mod. Commerce example I have given you. And unless we need a precise estimates, like in case of wages, no, wages we can't use mod, because then we need a one specific number, right? It's not that one particular group, we know that, okay, his particular salary which the most of the peoples are getting. No, that's not the question. That doesn't matter in that particular case. And mod, yesterday I told you, mod is basically based upon the frequencies, and frequencies are for the categories, and categories of the this categorical data. But since in mod we use the frequencies of categories, and frequencies is a quantitative data, so you also use it in the quantitative data. So it's depend upon the purpose. So you always be careful while you use mean, median, and mode. Oh, anything, any example you want to share, or anything you want to discuss about these? There are times where it's not easy to decide whether mode is more appropriate or the average. Like I have given you the example of this 14 days of patients. So then for location, the problem is in the formula that, okay, we have this property that we try to use the consider all the observed values, right? If I go back again to the formula, in arithmetic, geometric, harmonic, we are doing calculation based upon all the observations. X1, X2, these are the values for the n number of observations. In median, this n is the number of observations, so it comes from all the observation, right? Again, we are doing this considering every observed value. But the problem is come when central value, actually calculated central value is not the central value, means that's not representative. Or it might be representative, but the risk factor is there. It means you can't take decision, you have to calculate the risk. Whenever you have to calculate the risk factor in commerce, I can link it with the risk. Whenever risk factor is in the picture or background, we need a dispersion. That actually dispersion in commerce, I can say it's a risk, that how much is the risk or how much is the variation with the central value. So higher the variation, higher the risk to take a decision based upon the central value. For example, I give you example of stock market. Let's suppose I am doing a trading and my yearly return are 15%. But there are years when I just earned 5%, and there are years while I have earned 45%. So my average earning is 15%. And if one want to take a decision for the next year based upon my average, it's risky, because there are chances I might only earn 5%, although there are also chances I can earn 45%, but that's risky. So to get a risk, to get an idea about the risk, we have to do a few calculations about the dispersion. And if you say why dispersion is in the data, dispersion is actually the natural phenomena, right? Means if you can take any type of data or any kind of variable, dispersion is the natural phenomena. Obviously, all the value will not be the same; they will differ from each other. So dispersion is always there in the data, but we have to
calculate the dispersion. So for dispersion, we have this 4 or 5 dispersion measures. We also call it spread, dispersion, or the range also. Sometimes we see a corresponding range.
So range, quartiles, interquartile range,
Variance, standard deviation, coefficient of variance,
and then we have the skewness and curtices. These are to find out the spread in the data. This spread is from where? From the central value. Except for the this range and quartiles. Range is not the spread from the central value. Range is the spread of maximum minus minimum. That's the absolute spread. Other spreads like this interquartile range, coefficient of variation, standard deviation, variance, these are the dispersions from the central value, that how much is the dispersion in the data from the central value, so that we can take decision whether we can rely upon the central value or we can't rely on the central value. So range is in the, as it is in the slide, it is given maximum minus minimum. Interquartile range is based upon the quartiles. I have also given this formula for quartiles. It's just in the median you have to divide by 2 because you want to divide the series in 2 equal parts. In quartiles, depends upon the which quartile you need. Quartile 1, then you have to divide 1 by 4. If it's 3, then 3 by 4. So median lie between the quartiles. These quartiles are for the positional averages. So if you have a positional average, like you decided already that you want to do it with the median because mean is not appropriate, then you have to use the interquartile range. And if you have a mean, means you have decided that your central location is better to describe with the mean, then you have this variance and standard deviation. And why this spread is important? As I described, the risk factor is there. You can't just rely on the average value. As I have given you the example of this 14-day, there might be risk factor that few patients are getting symptoms after 20 days or 25 days, and few are getting just in the initial 1, 2, 3, 4 days. So that there is a risk factor associated with, and we have to take care of that. Like in the production, you have to take care about that. For which particular size you are producing, how much amount of the unit. So this is the mathematical formulas. Interquartile range and range I already described. Another examples in prices, there is a variation in distance. For example, my office is 50 kilometers from my home, and I'm traveling with bus. First day it took me 50 minutes. Second day it took me more than 1 hour because of the traffic jam. Another day it just took 40 minutes because there was no traffic jam in there, or bus was stopping only on the few stops. So I need this estimate, right? That at which particular to go to the office, at what time I have to leave from my home. So I need these estimates. So dispersion is there. Stock market, you want to invest in a particular stock, you know the average returns of that particular stock, but again you need the dispersion risk, that how much risky is that particular investment. Then number of classes for, okay, this is a really good example. Number of classes for particular course. Whenever you join any master, bachelor, any course, in your syllabus it is written, you will find in the above that 55 hours or 60 hours or 45, and there are UGC regulations for that. So how that particular number come, that for this particular course 45 hours are required. So accordingly they divide the classes in the semester, right? And this problem we face this particular year due to corona, that although those calendars got disturbed, so again and again universities are preparing their calendars. That 45 or 55 hours actually come from the average duration of the professors, and they agreed that for this particular course and content and syllabus we need this number of hours of delivered lectures. So there you have to, obviously they always dispersed that sometimes there are too many holidays, like this after winter the semester, this Jan to April semester is always short because 4 month semester, and this
July to December, it's 5 months semester. So there are dispersions. Then yeah, duration of movies. Let's suppose you are a producer, you want to produce a movie. And how you decide that you will produce a movie of 2 hour 20 minutes, 2 hour 30 minutes, 3 hour, 1 hour 40 minutes. There is a risk associated. If it's too long, might be the audience is not ready to spend that much time. It's too short, even the important content you will miss that you want to show in that particular movie, but due to time, you are not able. Budget is also related to that particular, because the longer the duration, longer the time it will take to produce those scenes, and more the budget you require, right? So in every decision, you find this average and dispersion is there. And for to take a decision, we need average information. If it's on an individual basis, household items, calculations are too easy. But if the same exercise you have to do in the research, or if you are in a planning department, like for example, you are a IES officer in the finance department, then you have to make this allocation more appropriate way with some statistical process so that you can justify those. So these basic tools are very important. So I'll go now one by one, how they differ and when you have to use, how you select. This we already defined. Range is the maximum minus minimum, interquartile, the difference of middle 50%, this middle 50%, 75% minus 25%. This particular range we call interquartile range. Now I come to the variance. Okay, let's start with the variance. This is one example I have took from the book. Suppose your values are this 4, 3, 10, 12, 8, 9, 3. You calculated the average. Your average is 13.33. So that lie with yeah, 13.33. That lie in between these numbers. So how much is the variation now? Sorry, your mean is 7. Oh, that is not, that is summation of square deviation. Yeah, your mean is 7. That lie between your nearby 8, right? But your observations are not nearby 8 only. 12, 3, 4, 12, 10, more than 7. So there is a risk factor, dispersion is there. So one of the way to calculate the dispersion for arithmetic mean is variance. Why we use variance? Because if we take absolute deviation from the mean for x values, the summation becomes 0. So that's the problem with the mean deviation. So to sort out this problem, statistician started using square of the deviation so that zero problem gets sorted out. So, and that we call variance. If we do the square of the deviations, summation of the deviation, then that we call variance. And why we use variance? Because this was the problem in the absolute mean deviation. And this is, what is this deviation is? Deviation is that from the mean, the actual values, how much they are differ. Like this 4 minus 7, 3. That for each values we are trying to see how much is the difference. And this is to get some idea about the dispersion. So now there is a problem with the variance also. And that problem is that now we have did a square of the units also. And we can't describe, for example, in this particular case, yes, your variance is 13.33. How we can interpret this 13.3? And can anyone try? That if our variance, like in this particular case, the variance is 13.33, how we define this number? Average is 7, that you can say whatever variable it is, you can say that on an average the 7 is, for example, this is your study hour, just hypothetical. You can say on an average each individual or student is spending 7 hours on study, but it's saying the variance is 13.33. So how you define this 13.33 number? No, variance is not free of unit. That's the problem. Now in variance, we did a square of the units. That's the problem with the variance, and to sort out that problem, we use standard deviation. That's a under root, just so that we can use the original unit. Because this 1333 is with the, for example, hour is the unit here. So it means 13.33 square of hour. That doesn't make any sense, right? So to get rid of that particular problem, we take a under root, and that we call standard deviation. That's a 3.67. Again, standard deviation is not easy to interpret. Means I can say here, the average hours is 7. The average study hours of the students is 7. But there is a variation, standard deviation, that is 3.67. So you can't say anything about, if it's a single data, single variable case, you can't say, is it this standard deviation is high or low? It's hard to say. For comparison, we need some other parameters also. And that other parameter is our coefficient of variation. Is before interpreting anything, how many units away from me, but the thing is, that's on an average, right? This is 3.367 is okay. But the problem is, let's suppose this unit is not hour, and the unit is in lakhs, and the standard deviation get high value, right? 3 lakh or something, right? It is depend upon the unit. So it is not an free of unit. So to make it free of unit, earlier the problem is the square of the units. Now we have the problem of the unit itself, that with unit this number will change. So to get rid of that, we use coefficient of variation. That will tell you that it's actually ratio of standard deviation to the mean, that how far is the standard deviation, or how many times the standard deviation in the data as compared to average. And this you have to use when you have to compare the data. For example, in this example, first case, the mean is 54, standard deviation 1.37. Another case, the mean is 100, standard deviation 2.34. So on the basis of standard deviation, you might say there is a high variation or more variation in the CIBC. But actually that's not true, because its average is 100, and if it's the dispersion of 2.34 from the 100, that's not too high as compared to dispersion of 1.37 units from the 54. So this analysis based upon the absolute numbers won't make any sense. Okay? We might get some mistakes here. So to get rid of that, we use coefficient. Coefficient actually means free from unit. So we divide it with the mean. Now the standard deviation and mean units will cancel out. So you have a coefficient, if you, and we always use in a percentages, so multiply with 100. So it will be more easy to compare the results. So if you're comparing something, means you have more than one variable or the same variable for two categories, then for comparison of the dispersion, you have to use coefficient of variation, not only a standard deviation. If you have one variable, then it's okay. Standard deviation, okay. Here it will say that the dispersion is of 3.67, that okay, 7 is the average, but there are chances that one is studying for 10.65 hours and one is studying only for 3 point some hours, means based upon the standard deviation. But if you are comparing, then coefficient of variation is more appropriate. And this is the rule. The coefficient of variation is particularly useful in two circumstances. First, comparing dispersion in data sets that have markedly different means, like in this particular example, right? You have a really different mean for these two categories.
Second, comparing dispersion in sets of data that are expressed in different units of measurement. So suppose you have two different variables, one unit is lakh, another unit is in crore. So it's better to use coefficient of variation. Again, variance, mean, standard deviation, and coefficient of variation. For mean, it's central value, means average that we call. For example, here I'm saying this is a, suppose hypothetically these are the number of study hours, or you can take working hours. So I can say on an average, these workers are working for 7 hours. And here we have a standard deviation 3.65. Variance we never interpret. Means if you're trying to interpret the variance, that's meaningless. Either you have to interpret standard deviation, or if you are comparing, then only coefficient of variation. In that case, you can't even compare standard deviation. Means if these are the two conditions, if your means are markedly different and you have a different measure of units, then you won't interpret standard deviation, you only interpret coefficient of variation. Central value, because we need one single number. This is the desired property, na? First one. Descriptive statistics should be single valued. So out of n numbers, I need a one number single. So which one is representative? Obviously the central one, right? So that's the reason we use central tendencies. This is why they have designed this mean median model, so that we can get some conclusion, right? And another, okay, you need for coefficient of variation interpretation. Okay, for example, here, okay, the values are missing here. Suppose value is for first case 0.56, and for second the value is 0.76. So for first I can say there is a 56% variation, and for the second I can say 76. So based upon the coefficient of variation, second one is more dispersed. I'm just saying hypothetically, although here if you calculate actual, 100 divided by 2.34, this value comes lower as compared to 1.37 divided by 54. So in this case, you will get lower coefficient of variation for CIBC as compared to TD. So CV is just the dispersion, that coefficient, that how much is the dispersion is there. So it might be 34%, 56%. So next, if and when you use this, now these are the, okay, we need a rule. Okay, let me show you the rule. We're not here. Yeah, this is the rule. If your data is symmetric, then use mean and standard deviation. If your data is asymmetric, I'll show you how we find data is asymmetric or symmetric. Just note on this rule. If your data is asymmetric, then you have to use median and interquartile range. This don't report median with standard deviation and mean with interquartile range, and the vice versa. If you have a mean, then standard deviation and coefficient of variation if you are comparing. And if data is asymmetric, then use median. This is the standard rule we have to follow for this central tendency, location, and dispersion. So get back to our standard deviation. These three properties we will use in normal distribution. So far you can skip this. Right now we are not doing the distributions. For the movie, you have to better ask the producer, because I have never done that calculation. But yes, if I have a data of these individuals, the problem here is that whether one would watch the movie or not, it doesn't only depend upon the duration of the movie. But yes, let's suppose you have a, okay, take this hypothetical example that decision depends upon the duration of the movie. Let's suppose this is the nature that we will decide depend upon the number of hours. Then how you find which will be more appropriate? First, we need a data. For data, let's suppose we have 100 different movies and we distribute that among the individuals and we see according to duration which movie they are preferring. Now, if you will get a dispersed data that there are individuals who are ready to watch 3-hour movies and there are individuals who are ready to watch even 1-hour movie, means so much dispersion is there, data is not symmetric, then you have to use the median. But if you will get a data like that, or that most of the mode is this, most of the individuals are watching movies nearby 2 hour 20 minutes, means you get some symmetric information, then it's better to use the average. Although it depends upon the situations, because how much risk you can take. If dispersion is high with the mean, then risk is much more. So if you want to reduce the risk, you have to use the median information. That also depends upon the data variables, the problem we have in the hand. All those circumstances will decide that whether we have to use mean and median. But the statistical procedure is this one. If it's a symmetric, mean. If it's asymmetric, median. Yes, interest tendency by, yes. For that, you have to take the parameter, the deciding parameter is symmetric or asymmetric. Okay, just take this example. This middle one is the symmetrical data, that distribution is a well-defined distribution. Then you have to use the mean. First, you have to collect the data, then you have to see the distribution. Then only we can decide whether mean is appropriate or median is appropriate. Means if you go to the statistical process, so this is the way that first get the data, see the distribution. If it's symmetric, use mean and standard deviation. If your data is skewed, like this positive skewed or negative skewed, then you have to use median and interquartile range. So if you got a movie data from the individuals and that data is skewed, then better you have to use median. Because you can see in this skewed data that median is something in between mode and mean, right? That is more central value representative case as compared to the mean. Because in skew data, you can see in the positive skew, mean is in the right of the median and mode and lying far behind the central values. On the right part, negative skew, again, mean is too far from the median and mode. So it's better to use the median, because generally you find median in between mode and mean. That's the reason for asymmetric data we use median, and for median we have an interquartile range. So I hope now it's clear. Okay, so next, okay, the one way to describe this data is the box plot. It's we called 5-point summary that tell us, we will do it with the state also, box plot. This is a summary, also useful to get an outlier. Means if you want to find the outliers in your data, so box plot is useful. According to box plot methodology, the outliers we will call the outliers those observations which lie outside this Q3 plus 1.5 IQR range to Q1 minus 1.5 IQR range. In this particular range, this range and this range, if values lie outside this range, that we call outlier as per this box plot methodology. So in case you need to find how much outliers are there, and if you want to identify the outliers, you want to get rid of the outliers, then box plot is the one way you can work out. This 5-point summary is actually middle line. This middle line is median. This is Q3 and Q1. This is upper quartile, median, and lower quartile. 3-point summary. Then this is for the first upper part is Q3 plus 1.5 IQR, interquartile range. And this last one, the lower limit is Q1 quartile 1 minus 1.5 interquartile range. And still, if values lie outside it, so that for them we call outliers. This is the only way we find outliers. There is no other statistical standard procedure to identify the outliers. Sometimes you will get a asymmetric data just because of outliers. So if you want to get rid of the outliers, you can use this box plot methodology. I hope it's clear. Is it, or anyone want to discuss anything or want to ask anything about the box plot? Or can I move further? In all cases, no. If you have this doubt of outlier, actually see this box plot is based upon the median. If median is not there, don't use box plot. Means if you are using data of mean, means you already decided that mean is the appropriate, then use mean and standard deviation, then don't use box plot. Box plot is only when you are using the median data, means median as a central value, or you have to find the outliers, then use this box plot. Next is the histogram. Yesterday I told you that for continuous, as you said, for continuous data, the graphical picture is histograms. So in case of histograms look like this particular diagram. Okay, this is the groups intervals you have to divide, and this thing is subjective. How many groups you want to divide means how many parts you want to divide the data. That decision you have to take. So the general rule for the histogram, and that we call a bins, that how many bins you have to want. The rule is this one. Log with base 2 n. N is your number of observation. So whatever value will come, that number of bins means that number of groups you have to make. Now the thing is, in your routine calculator, mobile calculators, that is generally a log with the base 10. So how you calculate log with the 2? The simple formula is this one. You don't have to do anything. Just for example, you want to do a calculation of log 2 base log with the base 2 and n is 29. So you just have to do first in your mobile phone, calculate log with 29, then calculate log with 2, and then divide this. Whatever number will come, that is actually value of this log base 2 by 2 and n, and that approximately it will come to 4.86. Because I don't know, either it is in the calculators. No, I have never seen, nor even I have seen in this Stata. So the simple rule this I found in the internet. So I'm sharing this particular base, that if you have a different base, then how you calculate the value. Just calculate with the first one like 29, then log 29. Then whatever is the base, calculate log for that particular value. Here we have to calculate for the bin is the distribution, that how much this is the bin, how many groups you want, that's called bin. 1 group, 2 group, 3 group, 5 group, how many groups you want, means how many class intervals, simple term, how many class intervals you want to make, that's the bin. And the rule is, this is the rule to make the bin. Means you can't do it subjectively that 5, 10, 20. If you make too many bins, that data can't be representative. If you make too less, again that can't be representative. Let me show you this example. I hope it's yeah. This is the bin problem. Too less bin, you are not able to identify the particular whatever you have the research question or information. And if it's too much, again you will find some problem. So we need some systematic pattern and that pattern is this particular formula. Whatever number of observation, don't worry, we will do with this data. Okay, let me first do with this data. It will clear. For example, in wages, not require. The 2246 are the observations. So how many class intervals I can make? When we will do, okay, let's do this histogram. In the graphics histogram option, I had selected this particular variable wage. Now I have added this particular value 11 here, but if you're doing first time, it will show you 10, I think, by default. You can cross check. But actually this number is required. That how many bins you have to want. So in our wage case, we have this 2246 observations. So how many bins we have to put, or how many class intervals we have to put? So to do that, you have to do this calculation. Okay, you can do it. In numerator, take a log of 2246, and in denominator, take a log of 2 and divide these values. You will find number nearby 11, I guess. Right? Just do this calculation with your mobile phone or the laptops. Log of 2246 divided by log of 2. You will get this number 11. Right? Okay, so this is how you have to calculate the bins. So if bin means you have calculated the bin, then you can make the histogram. Okay, so we can also do with this data. Wage is the variable, and bin you have to put here 11. In the y-axis, select density. I hope you know the difference between density and frequency. Density is divided by total, and the frequency, it will give you the actual figure for that particular. This density is frequency is for the y-axis in the histogram. This particular, this particular thing. Whether you want density here or a frequency, that you have to select. By default, it will show you density. Data is continuous. Here you have to select. If it is discrete, it will show you some gap, because in discrete we want to have a class interval, joint class intervals, right? Then there might be a gap in the bars, so that's a different graph. In continuous, we have to do this. So then click OK. So maybe a line is not there in your case, because I have selected one more thing here. This is density plot. Actually, I have already ticked this normal density plot. So if you click on this, it will give you the normal density plot. And if you also need a kernel density that's little bit different, it will give you that too. This is the actually kernel density, and this is the normal density plot. These we will use to see this kurtosis and skewness. Like in our case, if the skewness and kurtosis, you need these plots, right? The data is skewed or not, if you want this graphical image, then you have to use. So that's the reason we use this density plot. What is density? Okay, you want to know what is density plot? Let me show you one example if it's here. Yeah, here we have. Okay, this is density plot. Let's suppose this is 30 observation in this particular class interval. Frequency is 30. Okay, so this particular, how it calculates a density plot, that out of 100, 30 is there. So this is a 0.3 observations. This is a relative frequency. And the width of this bar is 10. Hypothetical means, let's suppose these are of a 10 differences, means 10 is the difference among the lower limit and the upper limit. So if you again multiply this particular, divide this particular 0.3 with the 10, then you will get this density 0.03 and its area is 0.3. So if we join these areas, it will be your density plot. This is actually relative frequencies. I hope now it's clear that what is density plot. To see the normal distributions, we use this normal density plots. This is a norm is the command for this normal density plot. Similarly, we did in our histogram case. This is our normal density plot. I hope now this is clear. Histogram is clear now. Why we make histogram? Because we have a continuous data, we need a pictorial description, or for the skewness, curtices, or normal distributions. There are so many n number of purposes where you can use the histogram. Another thing with the histograms in few books I have found, this is called stem and leaf plot for particular variable, whatever variable you have studied. Now, what is this stem and leaf? It is actually whatever observations you have here, it will show you that frequency with those. This is called stem and leaf. Or if you need one more example, I think this textbook has this example. Histogram. Yes, stem and leaf display. This is, for example, so just to describe, although I have not seen research papers with the stem and leaf description, this is just to see where the actually values are lying and what is what are those values. For example, you have this 2.06, 2.2444. So how it will appear in the stem and leaf, it will appear like, I'm taking this one example, 2124. So wherever you have this two particular group, it will show you that 2, 1. 1 is for approximation of 06. Then 2 is for approximation of 22. And 4 is for the approximation of 44. So 3.28, it comes with the 3. 328 approximation 3. 34 approximation 33. So this is how this stem and leaf is again showing you that all the 4 particular values, how much is the frequency. So you will get this particular type of data with the actual values, means it will show you with the actual values. If you need in the histogram, for example, if you did the histogram for wages, so just type stem wage, it will give you this stem and leaf. So here you can see the most of the values are lying with these two wages, right? This 2, 3, 4, what are these values? These are the wages values. These are the wages. There's $2 or $3, whatever is the unit. So with the 2, there are 112 observations. With the 3, there are 148 observations. And what are their values? 3.0, 3.1, 3.22, and so on. So it will give you the frequency for all the values. With the 5, 136. So most of the values are lying between 2 to this 8. And then there is a skewedness in the data. And that's the same it come in the histogram, right? Means most of the values are lying here, right? 2 to 8, and then this data is skewed, and then in later on at the 40th wage value, there are observations. So stem and leaf will showing it like in the 40th value, there are observations, but most of the observations are in the lower part. So this is to see that how actually values are and where the values are lying. Yes, it is skewed, but you want to see, okay, it's skewed, but which one is the most frequently occurred values? So for that, you can use this stem and leaf. Is it clear? Stem and leaf. This box plot is for median case for outliers, and this, yes, you can also use this stem and leaf for outliers. Is also useful. Like here you have the data, and then values are lying in this particular range, right? But then you need some cutoff mark. That cutoff mark only box plot will provide you that cutoff mark, that which observations you have to keep out of the data. Then you have two options, with outlier and without outlier. So stem and leaf will also help you, but better you have to use box plot. So is it clear? Histogram, stem and leaf, then with median, this box plot. For arithmetic mean, you have three options: geometric mean, harmonic mean. You have to use mean in the symmetric data with the standard deviation as dispersion. And if you're comparing the results, you have to use coefficient of variation if means are differed markedly and units are different. Data is asymmetric, you have to use median and interquartile range. But median is a positional average, and mean and geometric and harmonic are the mathematical averages. Then if you have a continuous data, you want to see the spread, then one option you have graphical option, you have histogram. You want to see where the actual values are, mostly values are lying, you can use stem and leaf diagram. So now last part, skewness, before we will do exercise with the data. Skewness and curtsies. I don't know, in the classes, I found this in bachelor's that students always skip skewness and curtsies. They don't want to study this. I don't know the reason, but they are very useful tools. In hypothesis testing, many things depend upon the normal distribution, and for see the normal distribution, the skewness and curtsies are the parameters. These are our fourth and fifth moment, right? So first start with skewness. What is skewness? There are two or three, yes, two type of skewness coefficients, but here I am using the simple one, Pearson coefficient of skewness. That's easy to calculate and easy to interpret. This particular skewness is actually, okay, what is skewness? Skewness is your data is lying equally in both sides or not. Yeah. Whatever central value you have a data equally dispersed on the both side or not. If not, it means skewness is there. If your media mean, yeah, this question I think I found 6 or 7 times in the UGC NET paper, right? In positive skewed data, mean is in the right of the median or left of the median. I don't know why they ask these questions, but here you can see if your data is positively skewed, then your average is in the right of median. If your data is negatively skewed, your arithmetic average is in left of the median. This is the one way you can find the skewness. And this information we have to use with the formula. That mean and median difference is here. So if your mean is higher than the median, means your mean is in the right side of the median.
then you will get a positive value. It means positive skewness. If your mean is less than the median, you will get this negative value. So your skewness is negative. So your data is negatively skewed. So the next thing is there any parameter to decide whether data is normally distributed? Means how much value we have to see, means is it any parameter 3.1, 3.2, 3.4? Subjectively, I would say there is no such specific, but yes, so far now we have a hypothesis testing process. For hypothesis testing, we take an interval, and based upon the interval, we will decide whether data is normally distributed or not. Means we have parameters, but just with the skewness coefficient, I can't say. If values are nearby 3, if subjectively I would say mean and median are equal, then this value will be 3, right? Sorry, 0, because mean minus median 0. So your data is unimodal and normally distributed. If gap is high between these two coefficients, bigger the gap, the bigger the skewness coefficient. This is the way the skewness coefficient will work, but there are statistical parameters, and those parameters are based upon hypothesis testing. Next, the last part is kurtosis. Again, kurtosis is actually this we call leptokurtic, mesokurtic, and platykurtic. This, I think these are German notations. As far as I have considered, I have not a clear-cut idea how these notations, but so far I have studied the statistical literature. Now, if your data is spread, means not on the lying in the central position only, if too much spread is there, it is platykurtic. If it's okay, values are lying nearby median, then it's mesokurtic, that's a normal distribution. But if all the values are lying in a one particular range only, like we have seen in this particular case in our histogram, most of the values are lying here only, that data is called leptokurtic. Higher the peak, higher the leptokurtic. Now, higher the peak, what it means? It means that most of the frequencies or the observations are lying in a one particular range. That's the reason of high peakness. And that's a sign of leptokurtic data. That's also a problem. We need a dispersion. And you might ask that why we need a dispersion in the data. One hint I'll give you. Hypothesis testing is based upon these 3 rules. That 68% of the observations are within the 1 standard deviation of mean, 95% in the 2 standard, and 99.7 in the 3 standard deviation of the mean. This is only true for the normal distribution. But if your data is leptokurtic, then it might be chances that maximum values are lying within a 1 plus minus 1 standard deviation with the mean. And that's not only covering the 68%, but more than 68%. So that also create a problem, and that also means that there is some problem in the data distribution. So even if values are lying in the short gap, that's also a problem for us. And too much dispersion is also, then it means it's not in the first standard deviation, second or third. So we need this mesokurtic type of data to get some conclusion based upon hypothesis testing. But it doesn't mean that we always need these kind of data. Whatever actual nature of the data is, we have to use that data. And this is the formula for kurtosis. This we called, I think, fifth moment or fourth moment. And similar we have, if you use here 3, then it will become coefficient of skewness. Yes, coefficient of skewness. If you have a 3 here, that's the coefficient of skewness. If you have 4, that's kurtosis. For kurtosis, there is no such, again, the parameter is not, if value is positive, means more, there is no such specific parameter that 1, 2, 3, 4. That value depends upon the peakness and the dispersion of the data. These two we will use not to describe the data. Again, skewness coefficient and kurtosis is not in general term to describe the data. This is only we use to see whether data is normally distributed or not.
And that is important for the hypothesis testing. For descriptive purpose, this box plot, stem leaf, histogram, standard deviation, coefficient of variation, mean, median, interquartile range, and your range. These are the only measures for quantitative data as a descriptive tool. So I hope now it's clear to all of you. So we will do some state exercise and then I'll finish it. Before that, these are just 4 precautions. If the shape is skewed, point that out and report the median and interquartile range. That's I already told you. And if it's not skewed, then use mean and standard deviation. If the shape is unimodal and symmetric, report the mean and standard deviation. If there are multiple modes, try to understand why. Then you have to divide the data, split the data. That's a better way. If there are any clearly unusual observations like outliers, then do calculations with outlier and without outlier. Always pair the median with interquartile range and mean with the standard deviation. This is the few important things you have to notice while you report the data. Okay, so now do some state exercise. How we calculate mean, median, standard deviation, skewness, all with the Stata software. So again, I'm going to use the same data set which yesterday we were using. In your file option, let first I'll clear everything. File, example data set, NLSW88 use. Today now focus is on the quantitative data, so leave categorical data. Here's one variable is wages as a categorical. Sorry, quantitative. This wage, number of working hours, total expenditure and tenure. Okay, let's work with the wage. Histogram we have done. Now you need these descriptive measures. Mean, standard deviation, variance, skewness, kurtosis, and median. So if you need all in a one particular command, then the easiest way is summarize, name of the variable wage, comma, space, detail. Just type detail. I'll do other thing with this menu options, but just if you need this is a very common command. If you need everything with the one single command, enter, you will get this. 50% is the median. Mean is here 7.76, means on an average these individuals are getting 7.76 wages, whatever units they have. I think dollars is there if it's USA data. Data set is opening in a PDF. You might have clicked on the PDF. No, you don't have to click here. You have to use this one. Example data set and then use one. Not on the describe one, but on the use one. Use, then it will come in the data set. So if you need these all in a one single command, then summarize, name of the variable, comma, detail. If you type this detail, it will give you this percentiles, quartiles, mean, standard deviation, variance, skewness, kurtosis. Okay, before let's do few little bit interpretation. Okay, now this is a single data, right? And I need this race wise wages. So I'll type by. For race is our variable is race. Like in India, second data set, you have this social group, SC, ST, others, general. Then sort. Summarize. Wage. Detail. Okay, now I have this information for these three categories: white, black, other. Now I want to compare this, right? First thing, we have to decide whether mean or median, right? So the parameter was if data is symmetric, use mean, data is asymmetric, use median. So to do that, you have to see the skewness and Kurtz's coefficients. Although today we not done any particular hypothesis testing for that. So in general, I'm telling you that how we will decide. We have to look upon the wage variable in aggregate. The skewness coefficient was 3.09. That is nearby 3, right? So its data skewness is fine here. Oh, sorry, it's 3. It means it's that mean minus median was not 0. There was some gap is there. So as far as skewness is concerned, it's okay, but Kurtz is too high. It's 15.85. Generally for Kurtz the parameter is 1. It's too high, so that data is not symmetric. And with the histogram, we also check that this data is not symmetric. Skewness is there. With the stem and leaf, we also seen here that it's not symmetric. Or you can also check with the box plot. For box plot for wages, vertical I need. Yeah. There are too many outliers. Okay, this is by the race variable. I need a without race variable in general. For box plot, this is the option. Below the histogram, you have this box plot option. Click on. You need a vertical diagram or horizontal. Choice is yours. I need for wages, not for any category, just for the wages. So if I click OK, it will give, yeah. You can see here that there are so many observations which are outside even the Q3 plus 1.5 interquartile range. So it means this data is skewed. And in the stem leaf, we have seen that nearby 40 and there are so many observations over there. So if data is skewed, coefficients is coming, curtsies is high. So we can't use the mean. Although I tell you with the hypothesis testing value, do hypothesis testing that a specific hypothesis testing to find out whether data is normally distributed or not. If it's not normally distributed, then you have to use the median. Which part? The skewness curtis, just leave it. I'll do it in the hypothesis testing because so far we don't have any parameter, right? Means you need some number to identify whether data is normally distributed or not. This is just time picture description I'm telling you. With the data, you can get in some idea whether it's normally distributed or not. So box plot you can also use to see, but box plot is actually 50% median, then 25% is the Q1, 75% is the Q3, then Q3 plus 1.5 interquartile range. If I show you again the box plot, yeah, upper phase Q3 plus 1.5 interquartile range, lower phase Q1 minus 1.5. Means if this data is not lying in this particular interval, then it means there are some skewness. Means there are some outliers, right? So that will indicate us that data is not normally distributed. There is skewness in the data. It might be in the negative if it's in the left side, and it might be positive. That depends upon the data. But there is some skewness is there. So we can't use the, I'm just trying to tell you that on the basis of these results, how can you identify whether you will use mean as the representation of this data or median? So you need some parameter, and that parameter is the symmetric and asymmetric. But again, to find asymmetric and asymmetric, you need some parameters, right? And that parameters are based upon skewness and curtices. This is the one way you have to look upon skewness. So in this particular data, in the histogram also, that if I draw simple histogram, of wage, you can see here, right? This is a skewness in the light. Like we have with the density plot, this data is positive skewed. So this is not symmetric data. So you can't use mean for this. You have to use this median, 7.56. So this particular number is more better to use if you have this asymmetric data. That's the only point I'm trying to help you out, that how you identify whether you have to use mean or median, because other things depends upon it. If you have decided the median, then you have to use the interquartile range. If you have decided the mean, then you have to use the standard deviation. Is this point is clear? Okay. So once you have decided this point, although we are doing the hypothesis testing, the few tests to find this normal distribution, whether data is normally distributed or not, there are so many this parametric test to find this. So far, I'm just trying to help you out with this basic information. Okay, suppose I want to compare these wages across race, that black, white, and others. So for to do that, I just have used this by option, by race, same again table. Now, just to give you example of the comparison, although for this data, median is the appropriate, just to give you the example of standard deviation comparison. In first case, this is first case is white, yes. In case of white, the average wage is 8.08, but the standard deviation is 5.95. In case of black, mean is 6.84, which is less than the white. Means on an average, blacks are earning less than white, but the standard deviation is 5.07. Means the variation is comparatively less in case of black. Now here coefficient of variation is not required because unit is same for both the data and means are not markedly differed. Like one is 8 and another is a 25. No, they're slightly differed. So, and the unit is same. So you can describe the dispersion with the standard deviation. Coefficient of variation is not required. Otherwise, you have to divide this 5.95 with the mean, and then you have to calculate the coefficient of variation for both the cases. And the third case, we have this others. Here again, the mean is 8.55 and standard deviation 5.20. So we can compare the result with the standard deviation. If unit is same and your mean is not markedly different, it's just slightly different. Although in this case, you can't use mean, you have to use median and interquartile range. So how you calculate interquartile range? Although this table give you 25% and 75%, but if you need it separately, then you have to use this basic command. Okay, yeah, this one. Okay, the easy way. Okay, let me show you the table one. Summary tables, summary descriptive statistics, summary statistics. Yeah, here, if you need arithmetic, geometric, harmonic means, then these options are here. In the summary, again, let me show you again. Statistics, summary, descriptive, arithmetic, geometric, harmonic means. If anytime you need these geometric and harmonic means, then you can use this particular option. Like if I use for wages by race, then it will give me the arithmetic. This is arithmetic average, geometric average, harmonic mean. Generally, you will find in this particular order. Arithmetic will always give you a higher figure as compared to geometric mean and as compared to the harmonic mean. So this is, if anytime you need it, then you can use this particular option. Then if you need this interquartile range and all together, statistics, other tables, compact tables. Here you can select options by your own choice. For example, for wages, first do the simple one. Only for wages, you need mean, you can select mean. You need interquartile range, you can select interquartile. You need variance, you select variance. You need range, whatever thing you have, you want, all the options are here. So you can select sum, you need total summation, then click OK. It will give you mean, interquartile range, variance, range, and sum. Means whatever thing you want, you can use this compact table option. Summary, other tables, compact table. If you need this across the group, for example, college graduate option, yesterday we are doing it, then it will give you results for not college graduate and college graduate. The same information, but now giving separately for these two groups. So you have to put this particular group in this option. I can also do this with this commands option, but with command option, you won't get that from where we are doing. So that's the only reason I'm trying to show you as maximum as these options. Otherwise, it's too easy to do it with the command. Generally, we do with the command, but that's for the teaching purpose, so that you can keep remember that the how from where you have to find these options. Although on internet you will find 70% content is with the command option. Means wherever whatever videos are on the YouTube, what I found, they just show you the commands, not the particular process where they are getting this inbuilt functions. So if you need this by race, like probably graduate wages, but I need it by race, then it will give you by race. Now we have a 3 variables: wage, race, college graduate. First for this one, white. Among white, the information for not college graduate and college graduate, their descriptive stat. Descriptive stat option, you can select whatever you want: mean, interquartile range, median. These choices you have. Then for black and for others, this depends upon the categories within the variable. So this is the how you will do with for the 3 variables, right? Wages first separately for college graduate and not college graduate, but we need it with the race wise. So you have to use this statistics, tables, other tables, compact table. There is also another option, flexible table summary. It is also useful. Let me show you one example. Okay, first simple example I'll show you. Race as a row variable. Column variable, I need married. And what I need, mean and standard deviation. Okay, so we got that this particular and about you have to fix this particular that for which mean and standard deviation. I want it for the wages. So wages, we know that it's not a normally distributed, so better to use median and interquartile range, right? Because it's not symmetrically distributed. Let's see how these results will come. It will give you in this particular way. This 2x2 table, race with the married option. That in the white race, single getting on an average 6.84 wages, married are getting 6.40 wages, whatever unit they have dollars. And if you want to see the variation, that compared to married, the wage variation in the wages is higher, more in case of single, based upon interquartile range, right? Here we are using interquartile range. It's not a standard deviation because parameter is the median. So based upon these two parameters, the interquartile range or the variation is high in case of single. In case of black, Married are getting more wages as compared to the unmarried. For soulmates too low. Okay, this is the problem with the online classes. Same like in the classrooms when students will sleep, then later on they say, "Sir, we couldn't hear. Please repeat it again." So we have these internet classes. Okay, this part. Okay, which one you want to describe again? This one or the previous one that I had it here? Okay, compact one. Option is here. Oh, compact one. That's previous one. This is the compact table. Compact table option is in the summaries. Other tables, compact table. You have to select the option whatever you want. By default, it will show you mean, but you have to tick, then select whatever you want. First, select the variable. If you need an aggregate, then don't select any group statistics or any other by option. Then it will give you information for the wages for mean interquartile range. If I click OK, it will give this information. But if I need it separate for college graduate and not college graduate, then I have to give information to Stata that I need this by a group variable as a college graduate. Then it will give you separately for college graduate and not college graduate. If you want to put another restriction on it, like I need a separate for the race wise, then by option is here. Here we can use third variable. Maximum, yesterday I told you, always use maximum 3 variable. More than 3 variable won't make any relevant information. Now, if I click OK again, it will give you me the information by race. Like for white, non-college graduate and college graduate, their means and all other statistical measures which we have selected. For black, separately for the others. Choice is here, you want for 2 variable or the 3 variable. Then in the flexible table, if you need a 2 by 2 table, okay, then you have to use a flexible table. Here, for example, I have selected two categories, race variable and married variable as a column variable. And I want to see their differences in the wages. Now for wages, we have to, yesterday we are doing it by percentages because we have the counts and the categorical data. Today we have to fix particular parameter. So I have fixed here median because our wage data is not symmetric. So median, and for median we need a interquartile range. If you select a mean, then you have to select the standard deviation or coefficient of variation. But that depend upon your information or the data is symmetric or asymmetric. So in this case, our data is asymmetric. So we have to use median and interquartile range. How we get to know that this is asymmetric? From the Boss plot, from the streamleft, from the skewness coefficient, and from the Curtis coefficient. All together, right now I'm doing it subjectively because we didn't done any hypothesis testing of normal distribution. Later on, we will do with that also. But right now, so far we have not done. So I'm telling the subjective, how subjectively you can get an idea about asymmetric data with the Curtis, skewness, box plot diagram, and streamer left and histogram. In histogram, if you plot a density plot, it will show you the pictures of skewed data. So if we press OK, this is a 2 by 2 table for race and merit. First figure is for the median. Second figure is for the standard deviation. So first now compare these results. If I'll compare the average wages, sorry, median wages, then others are getting more wages as compared to white and black. But if I'll see the in case of single, and if I'll see the interquartile range and variations also high among the others category. This is the interquartile range variation. In case of married, again others are getting higher wages, and again no, but here the interquartile range variation is high among the white cases. So this is how you can compare 2 by 2. So for that you have to use flexible table. If you need it separately, then you have to use compact tables. So this is your that you have to select no, here. Means you are instructing this data that my first variable is race, row variable, and my column variable is merit. That variables you have to select. It's your choice. But here you have to take a precaution that if your data is asymmetric, then you have to select median interquartile range. If your data is symmetric, you have to use mean and standard deviation. Yesterday we were doing frequencies because that was a categorical data, but wage variable is not categorical, it's quantitative. So you have to use these particular required descriptive tools. This is how you can use descriptive statistics. Mean, median, mode, histogram, arithmetic mean, harmonic mean, box plot, stamp leaf, plots for your histograms, and how you select median is more appropriate or mean is more appropriate or mode is more appropriate, how we use standard deviation, how we use coefficient of variation. So this is about the descriptive tools for quantitative data, and believe me, in your research papers and your dissertations, more than 30% you are going to use these particular type of informations. Which one is the super column? See, in this data, there are n number of options. Don't try to explore everything. You can do it in homework because I am just telling whatever useful for here. This is the thing. In Stata, there are n number of commands and things here. I'm not expertise for, or honestly speaking, means I don't know how to use everything in this data. I just know which is useful in the statistics or economics subject, in the commerce field and economics field, or this biostatistics that I have maximum idea. Besides that, there are n number of options in this data. And honestly speaking, I'm not aware. I'm just also trying, like you, doing experiments. Whatever useful I'll find, I try to share with others. You can do same things. If you find anything more important than this, you can share with others. But rather than using the command window, I'm using this option so that later on it will be easy for you to these calculations. Where do we do this exercise, sir, in all surveys? I didn't get your question, Lavanya. Which kind of surveys? Data collection? No. This is not data collection. This is something after data collection when you have to do analysis part. Data collection, you have to use the sampling methods, right? And that data collection depends upon your variable, research question. This calculation is after data collection. When you have data and you want to analyze the data, you have to analyzing research question, hypothesis. Then we do these kind of exercises. It's after data collection. Okay, so I think it's done. Yeah, as it is written, enough. It's enough for today. Now we are done with the descriptive statistics. Now I had shown you this data that for summary statistics and others and graphics we had done with the bar chart, pie chart, histogram, box plot. In statistics, in their summary statistics, frequency tables you have, other tables you have, compact, flexible, other summary statistics are there. No, you can explore these things. Means I can't do all the things in the class. I am showing you the way you can do. Now you can explore these things, try to explore in the internet, and you can practice. One or the other thing might be useful for you. In the classes, I try to do only those things are possible which are in routine use of statistics and econometrics, and whatever we have decided in this syllabus to do this particular part of series, and that's we have this restriction of time. So okay, thank you so much. I think these things are important for you and will help you during the research or in the learning process or in the data analysis part. That's the reason I'm combining this both theory. First theory, you need some idea in the background, and the calculation we do with the software. We don't waste the time to the manual calculations. Softwares nowadays we have, so why not we use those? No, no, sir. Data Clinic is not part of this particular series. That's totally different. Means whatever we have decided, the schedule is strictly. I have only 10 classes in this first part, and in the 10 classes, I have to cover descriptive, then hypothesis testing, distribution. So it's not possible. Means I am noting down. You can give this in the email. I am noting down the whatever request I am receiving. I'll try to do those things after this series. So I'm not saying I will not do that. We can do that, but after the series. Within a series, it's not possible for me. Okay. Is anything okay? So it's done for today. Thank you so much.